Good afternoon and welcome to the Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 EEAC. That's the Energy and Environmental Advisory Committee for the town of Penfield. We'll let the record show that with the exception of Marissa, I think all members are present. This session is being video recorded and then later will be replayed so that anyone in our viewing audience that would like to take a look at this particular meeting or continue to follow EEAC overall. So today's agenda, we have a couple of items. First and foremost, this is our, I'm hoping to be our last meeting with the EEAC as it relates to the RFP that we went out for CCA administrator, and it's part of the next step that we're looking to do. By way of a brief summary, we went out, we received two interested companies that came forward, Good Energy and Jewel Rocktricity. Both of those companies have provided a tremendous amount of materials, and I thank both of them for their efforts and for supporting this process overall. And we have put together our team, and specifically Sarah Waterman from our engineering and planning department put together a scoring matrix that everyone in this room as well as others have participated and provided some input on. And we're at a point to now take this particular scoring criteria that was put together, give it one last review, and then pass it off to the town board so that the town board then can take a look and do one of two or three things. They could take a look at it and say thank you and put it off to the side, which I don't think the board will be doing that. They'll look and based on the information, select an administrator. And from that point, then we'll look to move forward with the process for CCA. And just because an administrator is selected, that does not mean that the process ends there. That really is when the process starts, if you will. The administrator working with town and town staff would then develop some materials to share with our residents to update them on what CCA is. And, you know, we would then put, or they would then put together an RFP, and that RFP would be to go out and look for the best pricing for our energy. So with that, and before we get started, I'm going to recognize not a member of our committee, but someone very important to the town. Marie Cinti has just joined us. Marie, welcome. And I know in chatting with Marie has a lot of interest in this area and has been supportive in this area, and has indicated that she wants to start following it a little bit more closely. So Marie, welcome. Appreciate your interest and appreciate your support on that as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to recognize my friend Sarah Waterman, who has kind of led us through this process, has been the person that has sent out notes, rattling everybody's cages to say, get your information in, to make sure that our two companies answered all the questions that this committee had, as well as any other information they needed to provide to clarify their RFP. So with that, Sarah, if you might take a minute and just kind of lead us through what hopefully will be our last pass before we pass it off to the town board. Sure.
So everyone here should have a document in front of them. It's the matrix, kind of slimmed down without the extra spaces for comments. That's also on the board in front of us, so read from wherever you prefer. And we'll just kind of go down by section and see if anyone has questions, additions, or corrections. So starting from firm history, there's a section for both administrators. Does anyone have any questions, comments, corrections?
Okay, give us we'll pause for a moment in between if we could, Sarah, that way give everyone just one last review and make sure we've dotted our i's and crossed our t's.
Seeing no questions, comments, we'll move on to qualifications.
And the one significant thing with the CDG is just one is opt-in or opt-out, and the other is only opt-out at this point in time?
Correct.
Okay. No, only
Opt-
opt-in.
oh,
at this
opt-in,
point.
opt-in.
right, exactly.
So Rocktricity and Jewel currently have opt-in or opt-out, while Good Energy is currently only opt-in for CDG. CCA for both will always be opt-out.
Right.
Are there any specific questions? Okay, then moving on to energy market experience.
So for everybody's benefit, could you just very briefly highlight the contract with NYSERDA? That's the Jewel Rocktricity. Just a couple of words around that, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So the contract with NYSERDA, Jewel specifically in that grouping, is contracted with NYSERDA to provide regulatory guidance as well as prepare documents that can be used across the board. So whether Penfield is looking to develop an RFP or Watertown is, then both of those municipalities can go to the NYSERDA website and find a draft RFP to kind of help them along in the process. All kinds of documents like that for CCA, Jewel helps provide and helps make with NYSERDA.
Okay, great, thank you.
And those were a lot of the documents that we actually pulled in the beginning as well when we were starting the process?
So those were the very initial documents. Then we also reached out to different municipalities and received their documents and then kind of merged them to create a holistic approach.
Okay.
Seeing no questions with energy market, no more questions, we'll move on to financials.
Okay.
You have a dangling phrase there, the last one on Good Energy. I think you need to add company.
Oh, yep.
Brings out the chemist in all of us, right? Alcohol.
I guess that could be a complete sentence. It is a solvent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the sentence we were looking for, but
Not as
Might not make
applicable.
sense, but
still could be interesting.
Well, drop the A and they are solvent.
And then we'll continue on to ability to implement outline duties and responsibilities.
I'd just say, the first comment for Jewel and Rocktricity, that they would like office hours, that means rotating kind of office hours. They'll be here and then they'll be
Yeah.
somewhere else.
I can add in rotating to make it more
Yeah.
clear.
Not, they're not always going to have they won't have a physical office here or anywhere else.
Yeah, not 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So
So I
I'm,
think they would be available at certain times or certain
They'd be more like
days or
events
here.
than,
Yeah, the 9 to 5 would be a call-in center.
So I'm modifying that to say, would like to offer rotating local office hours
Cool.
at the town hall, coffee shops, et cetera.
You can do chosen and the good energy, second from the bottom.
Was there a difference in the development of the websites, that one was in-house and one was external, or was that the educational materials?
That was the educational materials.
Okay.
And to clarify with that, the difference was that with Joule, Rocktricity would be doing the educational materials primarily, while Good Energy does it in office.
Is that noted somewhere, or is that something worth noting?
I think at some point, yes. So down further in program roles, Rocktricity coordinates outreach, public education events, communications, and customer questions. That's kind of the only spot we touched upon that, and I think the group didn't determine it to be of outstanding importance,
Okay,
and that's why it's noted in that section.
that's good. It's a great place for it.
With that, does anybody have more questions with ability to implement outline duties and responsibilities? Seeing none, we'll move on to procurement strategies.
On procurement strategies under Good Energy, could you explain a little more of that last bullet?
Good Energy has the aggregation of NIMEP to allow a larger procurement and more savings without an intermunicipal agreement. NIMEP is, I'm trying to think of the acronym, New York Municipal Energy Procurement? Procurement.
Yeah, I
It's
think
basically a group that aggregates energy in New York State. Was developed by the, I was gonna get these acronyms wrong, Commission of Mayors.
So it's
Okay.
yep, it's the towns, from the Association of Towns, and then the city mayors.
Okay, so basically, they developed this so that it was easier to procure energy in a large amount, and by being endorsed by those groups, Good Energy has the ability to pull energy from that New York Municipal Energy Procurement Group. Basically, the reason that that's there under procurement strategies for Good Energy and not Joule is that Joule not being endorsed by the group of mayors and towns, that doesn't give them access to that. So their strategy is to use intermunicipal agreements, while Good Energy doesn't.
Okay. Okay.
Anything we need to do there, Bob, that might help clarify that from your perspective? That
I think it makes sense now, just reading through and getting the explanation again, that they're already working with that group. So if that group didn't exist, then like you say, an intermunicipal agreement would be required to do that.
Well,
Okay.
do you think we should add a line item in that? One more that says that, just the same sentence, basically, that intermunicipal agreement is required in order to achieve, you know the words.
Yes,
But-
I can
so
absolutely do
it's
that.
apples and apples.
Yep, good point, good point.
And
Okay.
the second line of the good energy, green energy, which is very green, and financial savings, it has an extra E in it. But what does, without any nouns or verbs, or without any verbs in there, what does that actually mean?
Green energy, good energy is using, let me rephrase. Good energy is looking to use both green energy and receive financial savings, while Jewel and Rocktricity's only doing 100% renewable.
Okay.
I can correct that sentence to make it more clear.
Okay.
So I've changed that to looking to balance between green energy and allow a financial savings.
They also have groups that are 100% green on their, or in their holdings. It's just whatever the community decides how they want to proceed, so they're not exclusive one way or the other.
And then under Jewel and Rocktricity, I added intermunicipal agreements are required when looking for a larger aggregation. That's the
Okay.
corresponding one to what we discussed.
To go with the
for NIMAP.
NIMAP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And more information on NIMAP and those groups is in the is in one of the lower sections, because that endorsement is also considered a plus.
Right, as under the other factors.
Yep.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything else in procurement strategies? Then we move on to program rules.
Sarah, the middle sentences in each of those, are those basically saying the same thing? The
So
represents which roles the town.
the proposals did not explain program roles the same way. They explained for Jewel and Rocktricity that basically what the roles of the town, Rocktricity, and Jewel are, while Good Energy took the approach to tell us what each individual person is doing. And that's why they're written differently. And if that's not clear, I'd love help to make that more clear.
So Rocktricity, which one did actual employees? Like the name, the actual employees? Good energy.
And that's why it says everything is performed in office, and then they represent different roles specific employees would have. That's the corresponding statement.
Maybe that's, would it help if that said within their own organization?
Sure.
And then with Jewel Rocktricity, the responsibilities are more dispersed. They're identified by
Each company has their
organization.
own, or Jewel's role, Rocktricity's communications, and so
Right.
it was broken up between them.
Is Jewel and Rocktricity, So that mentions the town, whereas in good energy doesn't. Does that mean that Jewel and Electricity will assume that the town will have some responsibilities, whereas those responsibilities will be covered by good energy?
It's a little more so in that regard. Between both companies, the town basically offers a lawyer for contract review, which that happens no matter what, as well as a space for public information meetings, similar to what we're doing here. There's not a lot more required throughout this entire process that the town is responsible for. And neither of them require any extra cost for the town.
Okay.
Jewel was specific in the proposal that the town does have some responsibilities.
Yeah,
It was really the difference in how they presented. They didn't present
So-
incredibly different information, but they presented it in different ways.
So Jewel is not suggesting the town has more responsibilities if they were the administrator than good energy, it's just they specifically
No.
mentioned the town.
Yes.
I do remember a sentence that I marked in the Jewel that said it had a role for the town in the distribution of
Oh.
materials.
Yep,
I didn't bring
that
it
was
with me,
correct.
but I did put what does that mean?
Yeah, the
That
town
could
will
mean
be
anything
asked
from a
to,
direct mail, which is.
yeah, distribute materials through municipal channels, host events, speak to the local press.
Yeah, so the distribute materials, I wasn't clear on what that might mean.
I think
That's
for
all.
what I'm trying to grapple with here, I think that putting in the good energy sentence, if you could just say represents different roles specific.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sabrina's
She
not
doesn't
at
have a microphone.
she's not at a station with a microphone. I can mask up and she can slide in.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Yep, absolutely.
I apologize. I was just saying, I think for clarification for me, I think in the good energy sentence, if you just stuck in good energy employees in there, that would help.
So different roles, specific good energy employees
Yeah.
is
instead of-
is what you're saying, Sabrina.
Yeah. I read that as town employees, so I
Okay.
think that would help.
So that sentence is now represents different roles specific good energy employees would have?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the Jewel Rocktricity section, represents which roles the town, Rocktricity, and Jewel will have? Is that still appropriate? Okay. Great.
And then I think the question that, or at least the comment that Sinette had read, is that something that we might need some additional clarification on?
Yeah, I think you do, because I think that if
I
the
did for
town
that.
is expected to play a bigger role in one of the two, I think that probably should be highlighted.
So, Sarah, I think that might be a question that we shoot off to Jewel/Rocktricity to get some feedback on that as to what that means.
Great. And for now, what I'm adding to the matrix is town is responsible for distribution of materials with clarification needed, so that when we do have that clarification, we can update that.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that was just a example sort of thing, because their ask is that we promote and endorse the program and its offerings. And those are the kind of things they suggest. It kind of reads to me like suggestions of how that would play out.
Okay. And I did completely forget that one sentence.
Yeah.
Between then and now. So we'll get an answer for that.
There were a lot of sentences, Sarah.
There sure have been.
A few reams of paper that we have
Or more.
skimmed through or more. Yeah, good point, good point. Okay. Anything else on that section on the program roles?
Then
Okay.
moving on to program timeline. Are there any questions or comments on that section? No. Seeing none, we'll move on to other related services.
I want to note, I know we discussed or talked to Good Energy, they were working on their CDG opt-out.
So that is why in other related services, I put CDG opt-in only at this time.
Okay.
Because they alluded to having,
But
be going in the
didn't have
direction
a
for opt-out,
timeline or-
I didn't think it was
Yeah.
reasonable to say more than that.
Got it.
Except the way you described it, it sounds like it's a goal. If it's a goal of theirs, we should acknowledge it.
They didn't acknowledge it as a goal. It was
Okay.
one of the responses to the questions of how do you, or can you explain the process of CDG opt-out? And, no, opt-in and opt-out. And theirs was they explained the process of opt-in, and then, again, they alluded to pursuing opt-in, or opt-out. I'm switching them.
Opt out.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good with that?
Yep.
Okay,
And then moving to cost evaluation. This one's pretty straightforward.
yep.
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 How so? I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Matt. Moving forward to other factors.
Oh, I hadn't caught that they'd actually applied for the MWBE status.
That was one of the results of one of the questions that we put in the addendum.
Okay.
And it was very specific, asking if they had MWBE status.
That would be for Rocktricity specifically.
Correct. And Joule does not. Good Energy does under their local Rochester contractor. And this is the section that explains that endorsement from New York Conference of Mayors and Association of Towns. Are there any questions in the other factors section? Seeing none, we'll move to general notes, and this can be if there are anything that this so far has not covered that you feel would be beneficial for the town board to be aware of, as well as the town attorney, or take into consideration.
Maybe in, in that section, a snapshot for the other towns in Monroe County. Which ones are looking at it, where they are in the process, those that have made the decision, and who they've chosen as their administrator. That may be some good background information.
I can put that together.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job.
Anything else, folks? All right, we've got a couple of small action items. The goal would be that once we have received the input on that one item back from Joule, that we'll make whatever appropriate modifications to the matrix. we'll look to get that matrix out one last time to the committee so that you have that. And I would include Maria as well on that, if you would, please, Sarah.
I can do that.
And then what I would like to do, if we have a thumbs up, I would like to take it and then push it to the town board, basically to say that we have gone through the review. So we put the RFP together, we received all of our information, we've screened that information, the committee has screened that information. We did have an opportunity for individual presentations by both Jewel and Good Energy. And I think Sarah had indicated that attaching that link so that when we ultimately submit the information to the town board, if by chance the board has not taken a look at that, those were back to back, and the board should be able to go through that in about an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half. So that they could get a little bit better feel or flavor in addition to the matrix, but also the company, who was on the Zoom with us, what were some of the comments, overview of their different activities and experience that they have, their resumes, and things like that. And I think then the board will have what they need, again, to take that next step. And then I would be looking for the board to direct me to put this on a work session agenda to discuss at one of our work sessions, and look to advance that for a recommendation as to who the CCA administrator might be. And then via town board resolution, we'd look to move in that direction. So if we could do that, I would like to, by the sounds of things, getting that information out. I'm not sure we'll have all of that back. We certainly could work towards the April 28th work session, provided Jewel gets that information back in a timely fashion. If not, then we would look to go to the May 12th work session for the board. So,
If I could get this information out to, minus the response from Jewel, to the committee by tomorrow or Friday, would all of you be able to respond to me early next week?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Great.
Okay. Great. And I would hope that our friends from Jewel would be able to turn that around pretty quick overall. So we will see. Time will tell, right?
Yes.
Okay. One last call. Any other questions, additional information, anything else for Sarah for the matrix? All right. Great job, Sarah. Thank you for taking the lead for us on that. I know and recognize that that's not your only job, and I thank you for kind of being our shepherd and taking us through this process. So great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm happy to help.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is to pick up and have a conversation about CEC. That's Clean Energy Communities. And as you recall, we had Rob Richardson and Jen Lowenstein came in and spent some time with us to do an overview of the program. I think we all agreed that the two of them, based on various presentations that some or all of us have had in the past, that by far probably was the most complete, and they did an excellent job. And when they said they're here to help us, I took that as a very positive sign for them to work with us on this effort overall. I did forward to all of you the two documents that Rob had sent us. One was the Clean Energy Communities 2.0, the leadership round, and then also the guidance document that we had as well. And in there, a little bit more details as to, those high impact actions that we could work on to gather our points as we take a look at how we participate in this program. and the various grants that are part of this, both the designation grants and the point-based grants that we have. And I think what we heard from Rob and Jen is that there has been a number of things that we have done, EEAC in the town of Penfield in the past has done, that we were doing it for the right reasons. And I think they pointed that out, that we were looking to do that for the right reasons, not necessarily for scoring points and looking for all of those recognition and certifications and things like that. We're really doing it for the right reasons. Now, as the system and the process has changed a little bit, there is an opportunity for us to take advantage of some of these grants that we can bring into the town. And what it appears as though that really, as we look at it, it is for the good of the town. It's not something that we're always chasing. That was a concern I think this committee had, that we were always chasing something that we might not be able to attain. So one of the items, and I'm going to kind of combine item 4 into this discussion with item 3, and Rob did follow up. I think we had discussed the fact that the unified solar permit process that they were trying to work through, Heidi and her team indicated that that was a little bit cumbersome, 5 pages of material, and did it really achieve what they were looking to achieve? Rob did come back and say, I can see where the confusion was, and he submitted some additional materials that I have forwarded up to the building department, and I spoke with Heidi about this week, and she is taking another look at that to see if in fact that can be then overlaid with our permit process and do it in a way that we're not make work, duplicating efforts and things like that. So that, if you recall, that was a fairly easy, based on input from Rob and Jen, that was a relatively easy couple hundred points that we could get. And then as we go down through the list, there are a number of things that, again, that we've worked on that we can probably take credit for, to include LED streetlights, some clean fleets, CCA obviously is a big one, and some of the other items for clean energy upgrades and things like that. So one of the things that I thought might be a good thing to do is maybe take a subset of this committee and look to invite Rob and/or Jen back in and really start to roll up our sleeves and take a look at that. Now, again, as I mentioned with Sarah doing all the work with this matrix, it's not that we have a lot of extra time and in excess of people to do this. So, I mean, you're kind of looking at this particular group. So I would welcome, if anyone had an interest, we could certainly work around schedules as much as possible. But I think it would be good to get Rob and/or Jen back in and then start to actually make a list of where we are, and are we able to hit that first designation grant or point grant, which was the $5,000 that seemed, according to Rob, that we were probably there or very close to being there to get that, to at least start to bring some of those dollars in, for the good of the town. And would be interested if anyone here might be willing to offer up a little bit of their time to be able to do that.
Is there a way to do that without pulling significantly on your resources within the town?
So say a few more words.
Is there a way to do that when we start to look at that list, are we going to need to keep calling somebody and going, do we do that? Do we do that? I mean, is it appropriate for one of us who don't work for the town to initiate that process? Are we going to just hit, I got to call? I mean, I don't know, like looking at the list of things, when we talk about the LED lighting, is it you know, we're gonna have to call somebody at the town and say, what is the status on that? And then when we look at the next feature, we're gonna say, well, I gotta call somebody at the town.
So what I was thinking, Sinette, is that I think it's important for EEAC, for at least a couple of members to be part of that process. But I would think when we would get Rob together, you know, we would also look to bring in people like Jimmy Kreckman, who's our facilities foreman, who has worked on the streetlight component. We might look to bring in a building department, Heidi or Andy Cervegas, to bring them in to help us with that. So we could, I think we'd set it up with the idea that we would try to have those experts or those folks that are able to talk to it or through it around the table at that point. And then I think what would also happen is that some of the work that we would have to do, they could help us with that. So it wouldn't be just the EEAC, but it could be a Jim Kreckman, it could be a Andy Cervegas, it could be, you know, an Eric Tate or someone like that could help us and maybe offload some of that. But having that expertise, I think, at that meeting with Rob and or Jen, I think might be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, because I would love to take that on, I just want to know, you know, I don't want to say we can do that without understanding that it's still a pull on all the people that work for the town.
Sure,
And-
sure.
And I
Yeah.
do think that there is room for, as Mark and I being liaisons to this committee, as well as Phyllis, if there's questions or who to go to, we can help direct whoever's the one leading that.
Yeah, I think you'll need a staff member as
Yes.
either a point person or something, at least can kind of coordinate information, but I think, you know, if you're willing to help, we'll take as much help and input to.
Always.
I mean, because you know that this was something I wanted to do
Yes.
2 years
Yeah,
ago,
I was gonna say,
so
I-
it's like.
If you've got interest and
And
passion,
thank you.
we
And
can
thank
help
you for
harness
that
some of
interest.
that, you know, that energy and then
Yeah.
Because it's really
coordinate.
like project management, organizing, and tracking skills.
Yeah.
Because like if it was one of us, we'd still be needing to get to Jimmy Kreckman and whatnot. But if they're there at the beginning, we'll be a lot more efficient with that.
Yeah, I'd like to work on that too, Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, Sinette and Bob. I mean, what is an afternoon meeting like this, like at 4 o'clock? You know, we may have to hold over a Jimmy Kreckman a little bit, but if that works best for your schedules, say 3:30 or 4 o'clock, we can get all the players around the table. And as we take a look at these high impact items, you know, who do we need from the town? You know, besides maybe a Kreckman, a Cervegas or Bale, and maybe an Eric Tate. So we can have all of those folks at the table, and then I'm sure that there would be one or two others from staff that would want to be there. Maybe Mark or Sarah might want to be there. Anybody's welcome, obviously, but in the interest of everyone's time, but to do it that way, and then help move us in that direction of getting that certification.
I mean, this time works fine for me, but I also can be more flexible into the normal workday as well.
Okay. Well,
So-
we're also sensitive that, you know, that we don't want to impact your normal, regular job either, so. And
I'm
now,
flexible.
he's retired and being a full-time grandfather, he's got even a little bit more flexibility, well, maybe even less flexibility now, so, okay. All right, so I think what I'd like to do, if you're okay with that, maybe we'll throw out some dates. We'll get a few dates from Rob and Jen late in the afternoon and set up maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock and throw that out to your schedules if we
Sure.
can do that.
Yep.
And are there any days that are better during the course of a week than others? That, I mean, is a Wednesday typically a good day of the week, or?
Yeah, Tuesdays are my worst, so
Okay.
I would say if you avoid Tuesdays, you're usually gonna have a better
Yeah.
shot with me.
And for me, later in the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Are the
Yeah.
best, okay, got it. So no Tuesdays, but, and again, we can take a look at Wednesday, Thursday primary. I'll stay away from Fridays. Those tend to be just kind of crazy days, and long weeks sometimes. I want to be sensitive to that. Okay, we'll look to Lisa to get some possible dates out after we've spoken with Rob and Jen. And then, again, anybody is certainly welcome, but again, we probably don't need everyone in the interest of time overall. Okay. Other questions or comments about the clean energy communities? Okay. Sinette, again, thank you. Bob, thank you for your willingness to help and participate. You two have been definitely rock stars to support EEAC, so thank you for that. Okay, we did touch on the unified solar, and again, Heidi's doing some work on that, so we'll look to have that updated, so when we get this meeting together, that she'll be able to, and Andy will be able to provide some input for that. I'll ask, is there anything else this evening that we need to put on the table for discussion?
No, but I have a good of the order sort of thing.
Great.
This one will be of interest to you all, is that the environmental club at Penfield High School is pushing the district to form a sustainability panel within the schools. So I just thought that was fun to see after all of our
Yes.
adventures in trying to get some
great.
sort of environmental involvement from the school district.
Right.
Hopefully their petition is effective, but
And is our friend Marissa?
I didn't have a chance to ask her if she
Okay.
was part of that. She's been pretty tied up with robotics, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she's been able to environmental club as well.
Got it. Well, I know there was definitely some interest there when she was at Bay Trail. She was active with that, but I also know that she has become more active, so good for her. Well, that's great news. That's great news. And one of these days, I'll have another opportunity to speak with Dr. Putnam. We have been derailed a bit with some of our conversations, as all of us have been dealing with COVID, and especially the schools trying to figure out how they get students back in school and things like that. So I look forward to getting together with him and catching up on a couple of things, other than at 10:30 at night at Wegmans. Okay. Next meeting, folks, I didn't happen to pull when our next, we've had a couple of extra meetings because of this whole CCA administrator. When is,
June 23rd?
June 23rd is the next regular scheduled one. If we're working a little bit on CEC and trying to get some information there, do that over the next 6-8 weeks. Maybe there is no need for us to meet again unless something comes up that we won't have to hold another meeting until our June 23rd. Does that sound reasonable for everybody?
Yep. Sounds
All right,
good.
so we'll plan June 23rd. If we have to get together for some other reason, then we'll cross that bridge as we get to it. So thank you for everyone that participated. The Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 EEAC meeting will stand adjourned at 4:53. Thank you, PM. Thank you again. And stay tuned. We'll keep you updated around CEC as we go forward. All right. Thanks.